The world is your runway.
Hi you guys, Conspira here and welcome back to my channel. So, in today's video, as I'm sure y'all already know, we are covering the rumored cast of UK vs. the World Season 2. Which, first of all, I feel like we have to talk about the fact that it even is getting renewed for a Season 2. And again, this is all rumored. This is very early cast rumors, so this is not official. And expect different queens in the future to pop up that we didn't know about. A lot of these to just be rumors and not end up being on the cast. I think what we first have to cover is the fact that this is happening apparently during the same time, around the same time this year that Global All-Stars is going to be filming. And so it's very interesting to see who's going to say yes to this. Obviously, you know, a lot of queens, now that there is Global All-Stars, not that I don't know if a lot of them know that it's happening, who said yes to this already, but I don't know, like, who's gonna say yes to this versus obviously you would want to go to Global All-Stars where there is prize money, where there is a bigger audience, you know? Being on the BBC, there's probably there is not going to be a prize unless it gets moved over to ITV or Channel 4 in the UK. And I love these seasons because I always think that they're never going to happen. Like Canada vs. the World, I was like, girl, that is not happening. Like after UK vs. the World, but it happened. And now this, like, it getting renewed again. I thought, okay, well, this doesn't really make sense because I didn't think the audience really received UK vs. the World very well. But I think what people aren't taking into account is that that season got really good engagement. Like, bitch, Twitter was a feud and there was big numbers. So it makes sense that they would renew this for another season. And I think, especially for the UK, especially now that we have Global All-Stars, it makes sense that they're still doing the Versus the World series and not a UK All-Stars, because half of the queens are not going to say yes. If you don't have prize money, if you don't have the engagement that the US has, because trust that Paramount and, you know, fucking Viacom at large, they want those UK girls. If you look at All Stars 8, they got Jimbo, who is a huge name. You know, they realize that the international girls have just as much appeal as, you know, the American girls. And so now that we have Global All Stars, you're gonna see a change in the dichotomy of how people are being cast. So I'm gonna go through this rumored cast by region and then by season order. So starting with the UK as the host nation, we have Gothy Kendall. Now, you might think Gothy Kendall, the first out from season 1, which, you know, originally I kind of thought too, but it quickly made sense to me. First of all, on UK 4, we had, what the fuck is her name? Sminty Drop. Oh my god. There is like a hair. Y'all see that? I don't fucking know. Anyways, we had Sminty Drop, and she was so big on UK4. Everybody loved her. She just brought it. So I think it makes sense. Gothy is one of those queens who is all-stars ready. You know, I think it could be a really great redemption storyline for her. She has had so much growth since her season. If you go on her Instagram, that bitch is sickening. In and out of drag, I might add. Trust, we know, and if you don't know, visit her Instagram and you will see. I think the producers know that she's going to be received very well if she comes back, and it's going to be a good redemption storyline for one of their UK girls. Up next, we have Theresa May. Now, interestingly enough, or is it interesting? What I'm trying to say is that España is not represented on this season, which I don't want to say like, oh, well, Theresa's there, so she represents España. I mean, she does. She's from Spain, but she's a UK girl, so I guess it's kind of like a double whammy for them. But Theresa makes perfect sense. She was a fan favorite on her season, and for some reason on that season, I don't think she was really on the producers' radar. I mean, she gave iconic TV, and the producers, they kind of overlooked her. She came 6th/7th because of the whole double sachet with River. But yeah, I think she's going to be a front runner this season. I feel like producers are going to see her that way. yeah. That's it. That's it. Did I have anything else to say about her? Let me check my notes. I did not. Sorry. Anyways, so up next is Jonber's Blonde. Now, some bitches have a lot to say about Jonber's, and don't fucking hate on my girl. Because trust, she is my girl. And I honestly think that she has a real chance for a redemption. I see Jonber's having that, bitch. This is why you don't wear gloss. This is why you don't wear gloss. Anybody just getting into drag, trust your wig is going to get into your gloss. And we don't want that, baby. We really don't. But up next, we have Jonber's. Jonber's, I see her having a Mohart storyline on All Stars 4, Monet Exchange storyline of like, this is so soon after her season, but I think she took that makeup critique and she really improved it. And in my opinion, you know, I think she came so close to winning so many challenges on UK4, and I think she really surprised RuPaul, the producers, the other girls with how far she made it. And I think she could really, really fucking kill it. You know, if you've seen her at DragCon UK, she's already turning looks. She looks so good. I'm ready to see her. I think she could definitely win a couple challenges. Do I see her making top 4 again? I'm obviously rooting for her, but with this stacked cast, it's really, honestly, this cast, it's anybody's game. All right, now moving on to America, somebody who I do think could be a front runner is Ms. Cracker. Ms. Cracker slayed All Stars 5. You know, she did really well on season 10, 5th place to runner up. You know, I think she's going to do really well, but I do think that she has a target on her back. You know, I said this with a lot of the US girls, you know, Silky and Raja, was like, oh, they might have a target on their back. You know, I don't know that it actually ended up happening because I feel like sometimes the queens are too afraid to eliminate an American girl. But at the same time, I don't think that the American girls have necessarily been favored on Versus the World either. You know, Mohart and Jujubee weren't in the top until episode 5. And Jujubee was in the bottom almost every single episode on UK Versus the World. Y'all, I've been getting this hair out of my face the entire time. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that the first time she slips up, I think she's going to be eliminated. I think some of these international girls are tired of the US girls being in the top, and they're like, girl, get the hell out of here. Y'all had your chance, especially if you've been on All Stars 2 times. I feel like they might chop you. And I'm hoping we see that, because it's like, I feel like you can't be afraid of the backlash, you know? The US girls, they bring in a lot of engagement, but like, fuck them, eliminate them. But I think Ms. Cracker is going to do very well. She's been rumored on, I think, Canada vs. the World. I think she was rumored even for UK vs. the World Season 1. So I think now, this is actually like her time to like say yes and go back for a 3rd time. It's interesting that she would pick now, because I don't think she would be considered for a global All-Stars. But I think this might be her chance, you know, to maybe win. But like I said, I feel like they might want to give her the chop. But our next person from the US is Scarlet Envy from season 11 and All Star 6. You know, now this is interesting because, you know, she wasn't really valued on All Star 6, and maybe she could have had some top placements that she didn't. I'm not sure how the UK production is going to see her. I don't know if she'll get a favorable edit, if she'll make it far, if she won't. You know, she is a US queen, which, like I said, I don't really feel like the US queens were favored on any Versus the World seasons. I think it was very by the books. Raja was only in the top once. You know, Jujubee and Mo were only in the top once. So I can't really say, like, oh, they've been favored. I think it's been pretty fair. And so, you know, if she does well, I feel like maybe she will be in the top. But we will see. I think it's an interesting casting choice. I'm happy for Scarlett because I feel like, you know, for as far as she's made it on her original season and then on All Stars, I feel like she does kind of get overlooked by the fan base, you know, myself included sometimes. So I feel like this could be her time, like her 3rd time back. It could solidify her legend status. But yeah, moving on to the most interesting casting decision I think we've seen yet. It is Deja Skye from season 14. Now, this would make history as the first queen to be on Versus the World, the first American queen on Versus the World to not have been on a previous All-Star season. And you know, at first I was like, well, why would she say yes to this? I feel like she's definitely in the running to be on a US All-Stars where there's actually prize money and all these things. And I thought, okay, well, first of all, I feel like Deja, she makes all of her clothes. And I say that as in, I feel like she's one of those queens where it might be easier for her to, you know, put together a runway package for an All-Stars and not have to maybe break the bank as much. I mean, I don't know that for sure. But, you know, I see, I mean, this again would be very soon after her season, just like John Burr's, but I do see a Mo Hart, Monet Exchange kind of storyline of coming back straight after and just killing it. You know, because I think it's actually smart for her, because I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't think that the American production really valued Deja Skye her first time on her season. I think there were so many challenges she could have won that she didn't. You know, she won Snatch Game because everybody else did bad besides her. You know, I think she could have won that little like spoof advert challenge. There were so many challenges where she was so good. And I think that the UK production might really value her because I feel like she's definitely going to slay the season. But I'm ready to see her back, and I think she has a good chance of winning the season and being a front runner. And I feel like maybe that wouldn't happen for her on a US All-Star season. I feel like the production might still overlook her, like she might make it halfway, versus on this season, I feel like she could really go all the way. But moving on to Canada, we have Tynomi Banks. Talk about a redemption storyline if she comes back, because she is a drag legend in Canada, but they kind of held that against her on Canada Season 1. Like, all the judges knew with her, all the judges knew her and were her. She is a drag legend in the Canada drag scene, but they kind of held that against her on Canada Season 1. You know, all of the judges knew her and they held her status against her as a legend throughout the competition. They're like, oh, well, you're not really living up to how you were in the real world. But it's like, girl, this is all of our first times meeting her. So for you to bring this outside information you have about her into the competition, it was kind of an unfair comparison. And I feel like they kind of just shat on her the whole time she was there, if I'm real. So I think she could have a real redemption. She's so good at drag. I think she could be a frontrunner as well. I feel like that's this whole cast. I'm like, y'all are really gonna slay this, and I don't know who's gonna be a frontrunner. We'll get into two later that I think are really gonna be frontrunners, and that I'm shocked are not on Global All-Stars and said yes to this. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. But anyways, moving on to our next Canada girl, and it is Gia Metric. You know, it's interesting. I don't know how well she will do. I don't know if she'll do really well or really bad. I think, you know, for me, Canada Season 2, it was kind of just like a mess season for me. Like, I just didn't really connect with the cast. You know, Gia did very well in her season. She placed 4th. But, you know, there's hair in my lipstick. Anyways, or in my gloss. Anyways, you know, I think she is somebody who should have been a finalist on Canada Season 3 and very well could have been. But they had that for the first time ever, that like reunion, like lip sync for the finale fusion, and then she kind of got the shaft and lost all those lip syncs. But anyways, you know, I'm like, it's an okay casting choice. I don't have much to say about her. Like, hopefully she does well, you know? Moving on to Holland. Now, from Holland Season 1, we have Miss Abby Oh My God. And Oh My God is right. Like, I don't want to say I'm shocked to see her. She's somebody who I've wanted on All-Stars. I loved her on her season. You know, a lot of people had problems with her staying for so long because, you know, you had frontrunners like Cedrigine and Chelsea Boy maybe get overlooked and eliminated. But, like, you know, I thought she killed all of her lip syncs. And, you know, I'm really excited to see her back. She brings drama. She's not afraid to confront someone. Similar to Janie Jacquet in that way. They were both like two who like were are not afraid to speak their mind. And so I'm excited to see that back. She's somebody who I feel like could have a Vanity Milan, Canada versus the world storyline of like winning that first challenge and then like maybe like up and down towards the end. You know, I feel like anything performance-based she will do very well in, but anything else I'm like, So we'll see. I feel like it could be a lot very high or low for her. But moving on to our next Holland queen from Holland season 2, who I think will be a front runner, and I'm shocked isn't gonna be on Global All Stars, and that is Kita Minaj. Girl, first of all, I gotta go on a rant. Kita Minaj not winning Holland 2. First of all, I love Vanessa Van Cartier, and I might have still chosen her as my winner regardless, but Kita Minaj should have been in that finale. She was a front runner throughout her whole season, and I want to let y'all know that the judges, so here's what happened on Holland season 2. So, the Countess was in the bottom versus Ivy Elise. Yeah, that's her name. Anyways, and so Ivy wins the lip sync, but they're like, the Countess, because you have the better track record, even though you lost that lip sync, you get to stay. But then, Kita Minaj, who's the front runner in the semifinal, who in my opinion also won the lip sync, but regardless of whether or not she won the lip sync, for them to be like, oh, you're eliminated, Kita. What happened to, if you have a better track record, we're just gonna let you stay anyways? It just was like so twisted, and it was like, she was also against somebody who literally cheated in the competition and should have been disqualified. Anyways, that whole season was a mess, but Kita Minaj, she brought it that season. She was a front runner, she slayed all the challenges, her runways were so good, and so I'm so happy to see her back. And I think that she is going to slay this season and be a front runner. Again, I'm shocked. I'm like, did these queens know that Global All Stars was happening? Because surely Kita Minaj would be the #1 person they would want for Holland rep on a Global All Star season. But moving on to France, we have La Grande Dame. Again, she's someone who I don't have a lot to say about. You know, she won Snatch Game on her season. She killed the runways, but, you know, for these English second language queens, I'm so glad we have them on a Versus the World season now, because on something like Canada versus the World, we didn't really have a lot of them. It was just English-speaking countries. And, you know, we had Pangina and Janie on season 1 of UK versus the World. So I'm so glad we have more of them. But it's like, I do think they go into the competition with a disadvantage. So I'm interested to see how she will do. I know she's going to bring it to the runway. But in terms of challenges, I'm like, it could be hit or miss. You know, I'm very excited for her, but I don't have much to say, surely. Moving on to Down Under Season 2. This is one of my favorite seasons ever. I fucking love Spanky Jackson to death. And somebody else who was a finalist with Spanky Jackson was Hannah Conda. Now, she's had controversies in her past, and, you know, she addressed them on the show. So I don't know how that will play in to what happens on this season at all. We'll just have to see. You know, I think regardless of that, she's really talented and she did so well on the show. So just based on that, I feel like she would slay every challenge because she just is that talented. She's so polished. She was the most consistent one on Down Under Season 2. So I think she comes to this season, she could really slay. And she's also a queen who's also not afraid to speak her mind. You know, she did confront a couple girls in that season and ruffle a couple feathers, Beverly Kills. But yeah, I'm really excited for her. Again, I didn't see them, you know, selecting her for Global All Stars, you know, not any shade. I just feel like people like Art Simone, Electra Shock, fucking Queen Kong, those are like the ones who I see more on the radar for Global All Stars. But like, I think this is a fantastic season for her to go on, and I see her as somebody who is going to be so polished and be able to, again, come right back. A lot of these girls, it's very soon after their original season, but I think she's gonna come right back and really fucking slay it. And lastly, this girl is a front runner. Marina Summers, she is the runner-up from Philippines Season 1. I'm shocked to see her here and not Global All Stars, and that's why I say again, did they know that Global All Stars is happening? Because surely she would be the top pick for Global All-Stars, the runner-up from Philippines. She slayed every single challenge. Like, to me, she doesn't have any weaknesses. She is so well-rounded. And honestly, for the Filipino queens, I don't really see them struggling as much as like other English second language queens, because I feel like half the season of Philippines was in English. Like, it's also the same thing with Holland, where like, I mean, a lot of them all speak English. Obviously, they're going to speak English if they're on the season, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like it won't be as much of a struggle for Marina. I feel like, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, I just think she's going to slay. And I feel like this is an absolute win for the BBC to get her on the season. But yeah, that is it for this cast. We have 4 runner-ups on the season. It's a very high-placing cast, which, you know, you can take that for what you will. You know, some people value a lot of runner-ups being on the season. If you like that, we have 4 of them. You know, I am so excited for the season. I cannot believe it's actually happening. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, this is all rumored, and things will change, and I'll probably make an update video. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, who do you think is going to be the top 4? Who are your personal favorites? Who do you think is going to be the first out? Who's going to win Snatch Game? Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. That was not a good bye. I'm so sorry, guys. Bye. 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 Girl, hit the damn M button.